I look. Firstly, I liked the first movie a lot. It was made by Scott Derrickson, and he's one of my favorite directors from horror. He does he has some really good horror movies, and I like his aesthetic in the first movie. Um, but I was really disappointed when he was let go, or he didn't want to work with Marvel, whatever the actual reason was. But I remember that when he wanted to make a R-rated movie, and Feige was probably not gonna do that. So maybe that made him part ways or whatever. Whatever the actual reason is, I was really upset back then. But soon after that, Kevin Feige just comes out and announces Sam Raimi is gonna be making this movie, and everyone quickly forgot that we lost Scott Derrickson, because if you had to get rid of one great director, you bring in another great director, and that's how you manage that. And he was right to do so, because the movie turned out pretty good. And I know that this movie kind of is mixed with a lot of the audiences, but that's actually a good thing for me, because I don't like safe movies. I don't like when movies don't have something to say, the director doesn't have something to say, or the movie just plays by the safe checklist thing. Oh, this will happen, that will happen. Rise of Skywalker, Wonder Woman 84, stuff like that. So I usually don't like that stuff. But here with this movie, Sam Raimi is so present in the aesthetic, in the direction, in the crafting of this movie itself. Yes, it's a movie that Marvel usually makes in terms of production and CGI and all that stuff. But it's also different because of Sam Raimi. The shots that he brought into this movie, the dialogue, the action sequences, and the horror elements, especially because I didn't expect that we would get this much of Sam Raimi in this movie, but I was so glad that we did. Some of the shots were just standard Sam Raimi shots from his older movies and stuff like that, and I could not believe there was so much violence in this movie. I just that kind of got me. Some of these scenes were really shocking to me, because not because they were extremely gruesome like in some of the R-rated horror movies, but because this was PG-13 and this was in the MCU under the guidance of Kevin Feige, coming off of denying someone of an R rating for this movie and making this movie. It was really shocking, some of the scenes and how gruesome they were within this space, and some of the decisions to kill some of the characters outright were also very interesting to me. But yes, before we go into detail, these were my overall thoughts, and I did like the cameos. I did like the extent of the cameos, and I liked how they were used. My favorite character, I would say, from the cameos would be Black Bolt. I because look, everyone hates Inhumans. I know. Even I hated it. I usually give pass to a lot of stuff, but even I just couldn't take Inhumans. It was worse than a CW show. I don't know what they were doing. But Anson Mount in that show was amazing. He was great. Now a lot of people used to make fun of the fact that he was only great because he didn't have any lines to say. So he was quiet the whole time. But I would argue that that's a much more difficult task, because you have to just act, from your face without saying a word. You have to show every emotion that you're feeling, and this character is so tragic, and he did a pretty good job. So I would agree with most people that he was the best part of the show, and I was so happy to see him here. I That's one spoiler that I didn't get spoiled, before watching the movie. I was just really happy seeing him there. He's fantastic, and the way he was killed off in the scene as well was shocking, because I that was the most shocking scene to me in the movie. I did not expect that would happen in a Marvel movie of all movies. So I loved it. I have some gripes with the movie. The editing was questionable. It was too fast. It just kept jumping from time to time. But again, the second act was kind of slow, based on the other sections of the movie. So I don't know if it's just the 2 hour runtime, but I would say the editing was messy for the most part. But even then, it kind of fit, because of the direction of Sam Raimi, the way the shots transition within each other and stuff like that. I kind of felt that the editing wasn't that jarring. It was, I would describe it similar to Suicide Squad, where the editing is kind of what um, ruined that movie, but it didn't ruin this one, because obviously it's Marvel Studios, so they know what they're doing. They have a set production, team and all that stuff. So I would say the editing is weak, and the score. Danny Elfman shouldn't have been hired for this one. I feel like he didn't use Doctor Strange's instruments and score that usually is presented within Marvel. He didn't use that much. He always wants to use his own stuff, even though it's an existing franchise, existing character. I don't know why he does that, but some of the stuff was good though. In some scenes, I would say. The music battle was cool. I felt like that was cool. But again, today I read that that was actually Kevin Feige's idea. So kudos to Kevin Feige for that. you know. But yeah, overall, I really really liked this movie. I actually think I should watch that again in the theater. I would really like that. No man, maybe if you're up for it, we can go. But yes, I did really enjoy it. I would recommend it. Phase 4 has been really good for me so far. They have been very experimental with so much different stuff. So
Yeah.
that's one thing that Marvel gets criticized a lot for. And I know that there's both sides to that. If you go too far away from what your DNA is, people will not like it as much. Just like some people did not like it with this movie. But I'd rather see a movie try to do something different and unique, like Eternals, Moon Knight, WandaVision, Loki. I would rather see stuff tried differently and not achieving 90% success or whatever, than having the same thing again and again, and constantly having the safe ratings. So I'm really really enjoying phase 4 so far. Everything seems very unique to each other, and yeah, I'm looking forward to him returning in the sequel. I don't know who will do it. I don't know if it will be Sam Raimi again, or they'll bring back Scott Derrickson, but yeah, I really did enjoy it. What did you think? I know that Sam Raimi is one of your all-time favorite directors, since you love the Spider-Man trilogy so much.
Yeah, look, I grew up watching. The reason I love comic book movies so much is the X-Men movies and the Tobey Spider-Man movies. Like Toby is still my favorite superhero of all time. He's up there with Wolverine, and that's my Rushmore Mountain. But like when you hire Sam Raimi, Scott Derrickson leaving was like a red flag. Creative differences and stuff like that, and a bit disappointing considering the Doctor Strange one is a very solid movie, really really good movie. When you hire Sam Raimi, you're not just hiring a director. You're hiring that director's vision. You're hiring Sam Raimi to come in and direct this. So my interest levels went up big time with him coming on board. Him, the GOAT, returning to comic book movies, and also a little bit of redemption for him as well for Spider-Man 3 because he didn't like that movie as much. He had some differences with the studio, and he wanted to come back for Spider-Man 4, and they wouldn't let him do his thing, so he just left, which was probably the best thing for everybody. And now he's back. He's in the MCU. The movie's making a lot of money at the box office right now. Yes, it's kind of mixed received, but I have to say that this phase of the MCU I've been enjoying big time. I'm really invested into all the stories. And I have to say, maybe some of my favorite MCU content has been in this phase. It's been The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It's been Loki. It's been Moon Knight. It's been Eternals, a movie I loved so much. And it's been Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. And if this was DC, I would be concerned about the reception to these movies because we've seen them change. You know, after Batman v Superman, they went with Justice League. They chopped up Suicide Squad, and now look at the last few DCU movies, Birds of Prey, Wonder Woman 84. It doesn't have that same feel to it at all. And I would be concerned if it was DC, but it's Marvel and Kevin Feige. I don't think Kevin Feige is going to turn his back on this kind of new take that he's doing because I think there is opportunities in it. There is something to be had with it because it's good to mix it up. It's good to be different because I think Kevin Feige is giving his creators a little bit more freedom and there's more risk being put into these movies. I think that's the best thing possible. You know, the ending to Eternals was shocking. The ending to Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness was shocking. These things are very, very unique for the MCU, and I'm loving this phase so much. It feels a little bit dirty when the MCU does risky things and dark storylines. Like, oh, should they be doing this? Are they allowed to do this considering the last few phases? But it's cool, it's awesome. And DC has been the one we've always kind of known for being kind of risky storytelling, a little bit darker and stuff like that, and still has it sometimes. But now it seems it's unique and it's different when the MCU does it. And when Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness came out and I got to see it on opening night, I really enjoyed how different it was and how I wouldn't say it's a horror movie. I've seen people saying it's a horror movie out there. I would say it's inspired by horror movies. It can never be a full-blown horror movie because of the restraints of the MCU, of PG-13, and of the family-friendly brand they've created, especially
Of even the
in
character
Disney.
itself, like he's a superhero, so
Yeah,
it's yeah.
yeah. I like Evil Dead is Sam Raimi's horror. That's what he created. Evil Dead, awesome movie. I would say this movie is inspired by Evil Dead. It's trying to be Evil Dead. That's what it's reaching towards, but it can never fully be it because of the restraints I talked about. But in terms of that, it takes a lot of risk, and there's some moments, some shocking moments in this as well, where we get character deaths that you would not expect at all. There's some really cool action. There's some interesting characters. The only thing I would say that was missing from this movie, and that's probably got to do with the pacing, is the emotional aspect to it. Yes, Wanda and her kids can be emotional, but I don't think they fully went into it because if you go back and you rewatch the Tobey Spider-Man movies, it has its actions, it has its fast moments, but it also calms down the storyline. Sometimes the camera just sits there on two characters while they're talking, Aunt May and Peter Parker. And some of those scenes are some of the best scenes in comic book movies because they feel real, they feel genuine, and they actually add layers to the character. And when something bad happens to the character, or they find themselves in a troubled situation, or a character dies, you actually feel it because it's built up so much emotion through those prior scenes. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, for me, didn't have much of that at all. And it could have with America Chavez, it could have had more of it with Elizabeth Olsen and Scarlet Witch, and Doctor Strange and Christine Palmer and their kind of relationship. But it never calms down enough for those scenes to really mean anything to me. But other than that, the action, the fast pace to it was entertaining, the cameos, the shocking deaths and twists and turns and the ending and the post-credit scene with Charlize Theron, everything like that was really well done. But it was missing that emotional aspect to me because that's what really adds to the Tobey Spider-Man ones. And that's what Sam Raimi brought to the genre a little bit more than anybody else. And I was disappointed in the way that he didn't really bring it to this one. Maybe it's because there was so much going on, he didn't have that much time. And we do know 40 minutes was cut out of this movie as well. I'm not saying hashtag release the Raimi cut. It's not like Sam Raimi and Kevin Feige and Marvel are fighting each other, you know, like Zack Snyder and Warner Brothers and the fans and stuff like that. 40 minutes was cut out. There's minutes cut out of every single movie. The Batman could have been longer. Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, he has a 6-hour cut of that. Only 2 hours and 20 minutes was released, or 2 hours and 40 minutes was released. You know, there's cuts and there's cuts of all these movies. And sometimes the longer cut would have been better. Sometimes the shorter cut would have been better. We just don't know. There's so much left in the cutting room floor. And if it added those extra 40 minutes, yes, the emotional moment might have been there, but it might have took away from something else that we enjoyed about the movie. So yeah, I enjoyed Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. It's different, it's unique, and I can't wait to watch it again. And this is actually my favorite Doctor Strange we've seen. We've seen the character since 2016. He's played the character like 6 or 7 times. I think this is my favorite outing of his. I like how he was a mentor to America Chavez a little bit as well. America Chavez, the actor that plays America Chavez, is very, very likable.
Yeah.
And I liked her on screen. But she didn't have a lot to do. You know, she was kind of like the damsel in distress a lot of the times.
Yeah.
It's only until the third act she came into her own.
Yeah,
You
she's
know,
a really cool character, and I liked her performance as well. But in the third act, yes, she kind of becomes that, victim of Wanda thing that you have to just save, and but although she did have a cool scene against Wanda, when Zombie Strange. Okay, let's talk about Zombie Strange. How did we miss this? And before that, I would just add to uh my review one more thing, that I felt this movie was more personal and smaller in scale than I was thinking, and everyone was hyping up to be, and I didn't mind that much. I loved that it wasn't just a multiverse cameo fest, and just going into different universes, and there's Fox characters all over, and all that stuff. I liked that it was a more personal Doctor Strange and Wanda story. It made the movie, it gave the movie more personal touch with Wanda, and I would agree with you. The Strange personal backstory didn't really, but didn't really get to me that much. The Christine Parma and that stuff was also very. It, I don't know what happened there. I felt like they didn't have much chemistry. Maybe Rachel McAdams didn't really enjoy filming this movie. I don't know what it was, but in the first movie they kind of had, and especially in What If, the that episode was the best one, the Doctor Strange and Christine Palmer one. But here I felt like she was just there, and I don't know. But apart from that, I the emotional.
like yeah, no, I was going to say like the actually you go ahead. I'll talk about it in a second. Go ahead.
Yeah, but the emotional character, the character that was going through the emotions and stuff was Wanda. I felt like that was the only one. But again, they didn't go fully, emotional with her, because we've already seen that in WandaVision, and we have experienced that side of her already. So I feel like we got to experience more of the Scarlet Witch side, which was actually pretty good. And some of the horror that comes with that is, like I said, straight up Sam Raimi horror scenes. Because there was a scene, for example, and I would always point to this one because it makes it the most obvious. There was a scene, just all the characters running in a tunnel, and Doctor Strange is running, Christine Palmer is running, America Chavez is running. I don't know why they're running. They all have powers. They can fly and stuff, but they are running in a tunnel. And Wanda is, Scarlet Witch is chasing them. I don't know why she's running. She can fly. She's Scarlet Witch. I don't know why she's running, but they're running. But I liked that because it kind of was a typical horror movie scene when the killer is chasing you and you're just running, and stuff happens. So I really liked that. It was kind of funny, but also very frightening, because obviously this crazy powerful Scarlet Witch, who almost defeated the creature who killed half of the universe, is running behind you. So what do you do? You know, so it was a cool
I,
scene.
I I like how she like I was expecting Doctor Strange and Wanda they'll team up with the third act to fight a greater evil, maybe an
Yeah,
evil Doctor Strange or a monster or a typical just CGI villain or something like that. But she was the villain for the entire
yeah.
movie. They never tried to redeem her. Maybe the last thing where she sacrificed herself. But other than that, she was a straight up terrifying, ruthless villain that was killing anybody that got in her way so she could steal America Chavez's power and go to a multiverse where her kids actually existed. Like that was scary at times. And I like how they didn't hold back at all. They didn't think like, oh, this is one of our Marvel heroes. We can't go too far with her. She snaps Professor X neck.
Yeah.
She just it's crazy. She turns Mr. Fantastic into spaghetti and Black Bolt's head explodes. And, it's crazy what they did. I was not expecting that whatsoever. And kudos to Marvel and Kevin Feige for never pulling it back in, for never restraining Wanda or Sam Raimi and what they were doing. I appreciated that big time. And yeah, there was people out there saying, oh, why didn't we get this and that? It's called the multiverse. I actually thought we were spoiled by the
Yeah.
movie. I was very content with what we got. It's called the Multiverse of Madness. I didn't know what to expect, but I knew the Illuminati was going to be cameoed in it because of the trailers. And the Illuminati in the comic books is Namor, it's Black Panther sometimes, Doctor Strange, Mr. Fantastic, Iron Man, Professor X. We didn't know who was going to show up. We've heard rumors, but that's the thing. Like When Spider-Man No Way Home, we knew Tobey and Andrew was going to be it, but the rumors kept going even more. Oh, Venom is going to show up, and this character and that character, you know.
Yeah.
And people get very, very greedy at times. And I thought Spider-Man No Way Home was a perfect. Well, I love that movie so much and what they did with all the characters. And with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, people are like disappointed it didn't get even more. I'm like,
They were hyping up this movie to
as
be even bigger than Spider-Man No Way Home, where you see every Fox character, you see Ben Affleck's Daredevil, all that stuff, and why?
that's that's like scoopers have a lot to do with that as well,
Yes.
you know, and clickbait articles and also fans as well. And I think it's going to be this and that. We got Professor X back from the Fox franchise, which I thought was awesome. I love that franchise so much.
With
A fan cast
with the
everyone
classic
loved it. John
theme,
Krasinski,
classic X-Men
the
theme.
classic team, and the floating wheelchair. That was so cool. I was like smiling, grin to grin. John Krasinski, a fan casting, everybody wanted that. He showed up, Black Bolt, surprising that the same actor came into it. Cool suit, looked awesome. Haley Atwell as Peggy Carter. A lot of fans were happy over that. I don't like Captain Marvel's character, no matter who plays the character, so I wasn't too impressed with that. I don't really care. And then
Oh, really? I
Mordo
actually
was-
like that because it wasn't Brie Larson.
yeah, true. But pity it wasn't Brie Larson's character, the statue
Yeah.
on top of her. But Mordo is a part of the group as well because Doctor Strange was killed, and I love that backstory about how they defeated Thanos.
Oh
and the
yeah, that
Darkhold
scene
corrupted
was amazing.
corrupted Doctor Strange, and he caused the destruction of another universe. And the Illuminati was like, "Look, you're too powerful, you're too corrupt. We need to beat Thanos, but after that, we're going to kill you." And Doctor Strange agreed, and Black Bolt killing him. Oh, it was just really, really cool. I as a Marvel multiverse fan, that's someone who loves the Ghost Riders, Nicolas Cage, the early Fantastic Four movies, Spider-Man, Tobey, X-Men, someone who loves all that stuff and wish they were still their own universes so we could get different movies. I was very content with what Marvel and Kevin Feige did in terms of spoiling us with the Easter eggs and the cameos. I was spoiled. I didn't need any more than that.
Yeah.
Cool. It would have been cool to see more,
Yeah.
but what they gave us, it wasn't overdone. It was pretty respectful for me. I know they were all killed, but it was respectful in terms of didn't do Ralph Boner and shit like that. And characters were cool. So yeah, I was really happy with what we got.
Yeah, I agree with the cameos as well. Like the Illuminati scene, it could have been longer, but the purpose of that scene is that they outright get killed. That was the shocking moment that was supposed to happen, and if they had a longer fight, I don't think it would give the same impact. So it was kind of it was supposed to give the Suicide Squads, in the Suicide Squad, you have the first team, getting murdered. You have in the actual Suicide Squad, you have the that character that gets killed in the first, before the mission even starts. That character you have in Invincible, you have the Justice League type team that gets butchered by just Omni-Man in one scene after the first full episode of them. So you have that kind of shock here. They were going for that. So I even I appreciated that because you had Professor X, which is arguably one of the strongest Marvel characters, period, not just the MCU. So he got destroyed, and I saw after the movie on Twitter, someone did a slow motion shot of that, and then I realized someone brought it up that Wanda did not just twist his head. She actually snapped his head in half, and that was brutal, and that's on screen. You see all the blood and stuff, but it's just so quick that you get past the R rating. And also the Black Bolt scene, his head explodes. There's
shocking.
blood dripping on his face, but it's still PG-13. I just couldn't believe it. With Captain Carter, I can see, they cut her, off screen, but then you see the blood from the shield.
Yeah,
that was on
it would
screen.
have been cool to see it goes so fast, like close up of her face, and then we do an outer what's the word, like a shot from like
A medium shot
that shows her whole it shows her whole body, and like she looks okay. The next minute her body just falls
sliding.
Like Darth Maul in episode 1, or something like that. Would have been absolutely crazy. But I understand why you didn't. That would have been horrific. But the other stuff, the other deaths were just crazy. I couldn't believe them at
Yeah.
all. And that's why I was like in theaters, like, what am I? What is this an MCU movie? And it was, and they're doing this. It's so cool. And yeah, that was. And people were like saying, "Oh my god, they wasted the multiverse characters and all this." I'm like, did you not watch the
Yeah.
movie? There is different versions of these characters in different multiverses. Like these characters could still be in the main MCU. They could still be in a different universe. We could see Secret Wars where they return. Nothing's off the table. It's not like they can never use Professor X again,
Yeah.
Patrick Stewart. They can never use John Krasinski. Of course they can. They can use them again if they want to. It's not that big of a
Yeah.
deal. Look how many Doctor Stranges we see in the movie, and he died. His character died a hit times. He's still coming back.
Yeah.
So like, come on, don't be so.
As a Sam Raimi fan and as a Marvel fan since, Spider-Man 1, what did you think? And as an Evil Dead fan also, what did you think of Zombie Strange in the third act?
Yeah, that was. It wasn't like because when we got to see in the trailers that it seems to be like Zombie Strange, I had more the image of the What If, the zombies
Yeah.
episode where like he's actually a zombie, but it wasn't like he. But I did like how he's in this other universe and he has to get into the main MCU to take on Wanda, but he can't get there because he doesn't have America Chavez to jump into different multiverses. So he has to sleepwalk into a body that's his, but there's no body in the MCU if he's from that universe. Then he remembers that the Supreme Strange, or what was that Strange called?
Defender Strange.
Defender Strange from the start of the movie, which died because of the monster. He's in the MCU, his body, because he buried it. So he takes up his body, sleepwalks. That was cool. And then you have these demons of the dead, or whatever you call them. It's like forbidden to sleepwalk in a dead body. So Doctor Strange does that, and then these demons come to stop him. And then that was really cool on top of the mountain fighting those demons. And then he's able to defeat them, and then he's able to use them in his advantage against Wanda. That whole scene was really, really cool and really striking. Seeing this zombie Strange and half of his jaw missing, his mouth missing.
Yeah.
VFX work was really good there. He was a little bit weak when he was fighting Wanda, but honestly, everybody was weak fighting Wanda because she's so powerful. So yeah, that was really cool. And I also should say, in the first 15, 20 minutes, you can really pinpoint that this is a Sam Raimi movie because of all the zoom-in shots. Really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And also, the man loves somebody falling off the side of a ledge scene. America Chavez was on the ledge. The monster was scaling up the building. That's just prime Raimi there because I think it happened in every single Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was it was cool seeing Sam Raimi direct it again. And it's not like he just directed it. It's like, who was it that directed Aladdin?
Guy Ritchie. Yeah.
Like, you watch Guy Ritchie movies and you can say, you pick up his tricks and how he directs. And then you watch Aladdin, you're like, who directed this? Guy Ritchie. What? It's not Guy Ritchie movie at all. But Sam Raimi, I'm glad we didn't lose his kind of his swagger coming into this big franchise movie like the MCU. You could still see his fingerprints all over the movie.
Yeah, I agree. And that scene with when Strange is actually reanimating the dead Doctor Strange, and the dreamwalk sequence starts. The way that his hand comes up from that, and the way the lightning is striking and the camera is moving and all that, kind of reminded me of Spider-Man 3 and that aesthetic that he had there. So I was really happy to see so many callbacks to his older movies. So I was really happy with that.
Oh, right. Okay. So I got some heat on this. I posted a TikTok about this and I posted a tweet about this and I got some blowback. I didn't like the Bruce Campbell cameo.
Yes.
And people started going into my mentions. You don't know anything about movies. This is an Evil Dead reference. It's an Easter egg towards Evil Dead. And I was like, yeah, I understand it's an Evil Dead reference. But when you look at Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3 and Bruce Campbell's cameos in them, it adds to the plot. It adds to the characters. It feels important. It's subtle. It's also funny. When he's the re-announcer in Spider-Man 1, he gives Spider-Man his name. When he is in Spider-Man 2 as the usher for the play for Mary Jane's play, he's late. He can't get in. That adds to the whole tension between Peter and Mary Jane. And then you go into Spider-Man 3 where he is the restaurant owner, whatever it is, and he's adding to the scene with the music. It's very funny, and he's trying to propose. Really good scene. Here, he shows up out of nowhere, and with the Spider-Man ones, you're like, is that Bruce Campbell? That is Bruce Campbell. Okay, cool. Here you knew straight away it was Bruce Campbell, and then Doctor Strange puts him underneath this spell, and he's just hitting himself. I understand it's an Evil Dead reference, but I didn't think it was funny. It didn't add to the story. It wasn't subtle. Didn't like it. And in the post credit scene, I understand the fourth wall breaking and saying it's over. I didn't like that either. I'm sorry, I didn't like his cameo. I was expecting something better, but we didn't get
I
it.
liked the first part of the cameo where he was hitting himself and all that. I thought that was kind of funny, but I didn't like the post-credit scene where you had to wait like 7 minutes and he comes on screen just hitting himself and then it's over. that that was kind of weird. But I get it. It's Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell, so I guess he gets to do that. If he asks that
Ugh.
to Kevin Feige, Feige obviously says, "Of course you can do that." Sure.
Yeah, but you know what I would have did? If I was a big Marvel director and MCU and all that kind of stuff, and look, I'm telling Sam Raimi what to do here, but I would have had, Doctor Strange and America Chavez go into some other universe, whatever they're doing, and there's a street magician, and it's Bruce Campbell, and he calls himself Mysterio. That's what I would have did. That's what I would have did. That's just me.
Yeah, that would have been funny. But look, the movie overall was pretty good. I really, really enjoyed it. Um, I cannot believe this movie exists the way it is. Um, you know, and yeah, I would definitely recommend it. You should go watch it. And oh, by the way, I saw this in 3D, and Feige said that this movie was specifically made for 3D, especially after the first Doctor Strange. This one was specifically made for 3D, not just made in 2D and converted to 3D. So I did feel that a lot of scenes had that 3D elements of getting close to your vision and stuff like that. So yes, the 3D also is amazing in this movie. And I think this is one of the things that not a lot of people are talking about because of so much that's in the movie. But yeah, the 3D is also pretty good.
3D probably won't be a big thing until Avatar 2 comes out again.
Yeah.
So, but
Let yeah.
Rokon says in the chat, I love the hell out of Multiverse of Madness. Raimi shows he's still got it with that classic Raimi style in horror camp. It felt like the first time in an MCU film you can see it's a director's vision. The only things I didn't like was, for one, Mordo being wasted and Danny's score. I was hoping Danny teaming with Raimi, he'd care because they make magic usually, but he still phones it in. I do think the Mordo thing was part of what Derrickson left because it's clear he was setting him up as the bad guy for the sequel, and here there wasn't any payoff to that. It's cool they brought back Anson as Black Bolt in this one, and they gave him the Black Bolt costume. Also, Haley as Atwell looks awesome as Cap Carter. More of a reason to do that Disney Plus series. I also appreciate they let Sam shoot this on film. The cinematography and effects look amazing because of that.
Yeah, I would agree with Mordo. I think he was one of the weak parts. Even in the Illuminati, I don't know why he's there. Like, he's just a regular dude with lesser magic than Doctor Strange. I don't know why he's there. Even his fight with Doctor Strange in that scene was very, stupid. I just don't like the character at all. And yes,
That seemed like a reshoot or something like
yeah,
that.
because it
So
was. And I read that the actual arc with Mordo was supposed to be in the beginning of the movie, which they actually cut out. So before the movie starts with Defender Strange and America Chavez just running right from that beast thing. So before that, it was supposed to introduce us to Scarlet Witch early on. So the way WandaVision ended, the end credit scene or the last scene, whatever it was, where she's reading through the dark hole and she's in the isolated hut and all that. So apparently in the beginning of this movie, Mordo was supposed to go there because she's using the dark hole and supposed to stop her. But she kills him and she decapitates his head. So early on in the movie, we learn that Scarlet Witch is the villain. So I I can understand how that would work, and that would be pretty cool. And after that, the Defender Strange and Chavez are running from that demon. They talk about someone hiring the demon to kill them, whatever, blah blah. Okay, so yes, that fits within the story, and that would have given Mordo something more to do, because throughout the movie, nobody mentions 616 Mordo. Like our Earth's Mordo is nowhere to be found, and nobody even mentions him. That's because he was dead. Scarlet Witch killed him. But I liked how this turned out now because there was a little bit of mystery in the beginning till we saw her, talk to Doctor Strange, and then we realized, okay, yes, Scarlet Witch is the villain. But to get there, we had some time, so there was a little bit of mystery, to the movie where we didn't know who the actual villain is. With that opening scene, we would have, right away knew. So that's one thing I would trade off. I would actually prefer the actual movie version that we have now.
Because at the end of Doctor Strange 1, we see Mordo and he's taking the magic or the power off other
Yes.
sorcerers, and he wants to wipe the world of sorcerers, whatever he's trying to
Yeah.
do. And it set him up to be the Doctor Strange 2 villain. And that's probably what Scott Derrickson was going to do, was have him as the most prominent villain for this one. And we didn't get it. And yes, yeah, like when he showed up as the Illuminati member, I wasn't like, oh my god, wow. The big wows for me were Black Bolt's Professor X and Krasinski. Him as a character, I think he's fine and all. I don't get too excited over the character, but that's because I haven't really seen much of him. I'm sure Derrickson would have had more layers to his character as a villain in this one, but yeah, he just kind of was just there. I would have maybe added another post-credit scene, just tease hit Mordo for Doctor Strange 3 or something like that, the MCU Mordo,
I guess they
because
don't
it's a
want him
shame. Like,
back. Like, what evil will he do? Like, I don't know. His powers are so useless.
well, I always look at it this way: that if you could have had him, look at Aquaman. You have the main villain was Orm, and then you have Black Manta as kind of like the
Yes.
side villain on his little side story. And then I'm sure Aquaman 2, there'll be bigger threats there, but Black Manta will be a threat as well. By the third movie, he'll be more powerful to fight Aquaman. That's what we're getting to.
Yeah.
So I think I would like to see something like that for Mordo, something just a side little villain arc there, keep him ticking over until he's powerful enough to fight Doctor Strange in some way. But yeah, it was a bit weird, but I think Juan was pretty good in this one as well. He had some cool scenes. He's a really cool character. America Chavez, I liked her as well. Hope to see her return. And it looks like Rachel McAdams is done in the role as Christine Palmer. She might return here and there, small roles, but I think with Charlize Theron's introduction as Clea, she will be in the comics. Her character is a love interest for Doctor Strange. That's probably what's going to happen in Doctor Strange 3. He'll move on from that, and that's what this movie was about. Is about closing that chapter with Christine Palmer and Doctor Strange, and like just a multiverse. They're never supposed to be together.
Yeah.
So
I think she will still be around just because of her new job role that they introduced. She studies the multiverses, she names, them and all that stuff. So I feel like she would be that type of character in the background, and we see her, eventually at some point. But yeah, I do feel like they will close the love interest chapter for her and just go with Clea, because I was actually really surprised to see Charlize Theron, because I was, for a long
yeah,
time, she was my choice to play Big Barda in, the Snyderverse, but Marvel got to her first again. And I was like, damn it. But it's not that she can't play both characters, but it's just that, I would have loved to see her there. But she's, again, a fantastic addition, a really, really great actress. And although her costume was a little bit weird,
yeah, it was a bit bulky or something like that.
the
She's
color was
like
too
Charlize Theron's.
bright. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's kind of weird, but she's great. So I'm looking forward to her performance. Yeah. So
and she's been kind of hard. Like she's in the Fast and Furious movies, but
I liked her
like
in
they
The
are going to
Old
be hard.
Guard and in Bombshell with Margot Robbie. She's fantastic in that movie. I think she even
Well,
got
she's brilliant
nominated.
at action. She's really good at action because
Oh yeah.
like Mad Max was fantastic, and also Atomic Blonde. It's kind of like a John Wick esque movie. You should check that out. It's fantastic. Great music in it. And she's fantastic. James McAvoy's in it too. But she's really good at action. And
Yeah.
like she was up for Wonder. People thought she was up for Wonder Woman a few years ago, but then Warner Brothers came to her to play Wonder Woman's mom, and she didn't really like that. Ageism. And she's young enough. She's not old, right? She could play it. She would have been a fantastic Wonder Woman
Yep.
actually as well. But
Probably even
like
better.
maybe, yeah, 'cause she's fantastic. She's a really great actor. Like she's one of the best out there. Now the MCU has her Like the MCU seems to be picking up all these great actors. You know, they're doing a really good job at them and setting them up. Like Mahershala Ali will be Blade. He's one of the best actors in the world right now. That's a really cool. Kit Harington as well. He's going to be the Black Knight or one of the Internals. Like they're picking up all these great actors. Harry Styles is even in the MCU now. But Charlize Theron, I'm not saying he's a great actor. I'm just saying they're picking up everybody.
Yeah.
Charlize Theron is really cool. I want to see her in Doctor Strange 3 have a big role. And yeah, it was a surprise to see her. I did not get to see any leaks about that. I knew Professor X, I knew Black Bolt, I knew Captain Character, all that kind of stuff. I didn't know Krasinski, but she was a shock. Really like that. Her costume was a bit bulky or something like that. She's a good-looking woman. She's fit and all that kind of stuff. You know, the costume just seemed very big on her or something like that. So I hope they make some modifications to it for when she returns.
Yeah, I cannot